I'm going to teach you an intermittent fasting strategy that I've been doing for 10 years consistently. It's helped me burn my belly fat and keep it off. And by the end of this video, you should have full clarity on how intermittent fasting works. And this isn't one of those things where you have to start eating at 12 and you have 8 hours to eat. None of that. I'm going to make it very simple. And the rule is called 4-4-12. The biggest benefit of intermittent fasting is reducing your insulin levels. Within a couple hours of fasting, your insulin starts to drop. And your body has two fuel sources, carbs and fat. And notice how as insulin levels increase, fat breakdown decreases. Now, a lot of people get this confused with weight loss. You could be burning fat for fuel, but doesn't necessarily mean you lose weight. You want to burn fat for fuel for your metabolism, so you don't end up with insulin resistance. Because that insulin resistance can leave you with all these kind of symptoms like sugar cravings, unusual weight gain, frequent hunger. It can even affect your mental health, like concentration, because the brain is not being able to get the fuel. So when you have dinner, your insulin goes up and it starts to come down. Now, different foods will have different effects on your insulin. So you could do a high starchy, high sugary dinner, your insulin will spike up a lot higher than a fibrous, protein-rich dinner. So depending on if you're insulin resistant, what kind of dinner you had, your insulin could spike high and stay up longer, or not spike as high and come down quicker. Now, when you wake up, you have this period where your insulin's low because you've been sleeping. You don't want to spike it up right away with breakfast. So you want to have your first meal 12 hours after your dinner. So now when you break your fast, you want to make sure you have fiber, because fiber reduces your insulin spikes. Now, different fibers have different effect on your insulin levels. For example, psyllium husk, that's mostly for constipation and digestion. Oat fiber, beta-glucan, soluble corn fiber, these are all kinds of fibers that help your glucose and insulin levels. So now once you have your first meal, also known as your break fast, now you're going to fast for 4 hours after that. Anything sugar-free is fine because it doesn't raise your insulin levels, keeping you in a fasted state. So there's 4-4-12. 4 hours between your meals, 12 hours from your last meal to your first meal. Now 4-4-12 only equals 20. So you have 4 hours to play around with. You can extend this to 16, or you could keep this at 12 hours and extend these 6 hours each. And the principle is you're controlling the insulin. And every time you have a meal, you make sure you have a combination of fibers to control your insulin levels. You eliminate the snacks now because you're not hungry. The fiber reduces your caloric intake. The fasting reduces one meal, reducing your calories. And look at all the benefits: body weight, waist circumference, blood pressure, cholesterol, A1C, better sleep. These are all benefits of fasting properly.